everybody, and welcome to the Mind of Marlin and another treetop talk here at the sweet spot on the big island of Hawaii. The ducks are fed, the chickens are fed, now it's time to feed your head. Retrospectacles give us 20/20 hindsight, and as many Americans can only seem to get things in focus from the rearview mirror, I've waited this long into the pandemic to do a piece about masks. Now, you might be asking, why didn't I do this sooner? Well, because it was a life and death situation, and there was already enough assholes squawking about it without adding another hole, my hole, to the debate. Not my pie hole, mind you, which brings up, why is it called a pie hole, not a donut hole, or dog hole, or burger hole, or fry hole? And since I've brought up holes, it is a segue to this particular hole. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who compared wearing masks to wearing stars in Nazi Germany to identify Jews. And once you were identified as a Jew, you were a second class or really a no-class citizen who could then be trucked off to a concentration camp and murdered en masse in gas chambers. Now, it appears that this woman was possibly gassed herself with anything from carbon monoxide, spray paint, or getting her hair that color by putting it into an oven. So, Marjorie Taylor Greene, this one is for you and all of the other people who have had their heads up their masks without wearing them. Now, masks have a long and storied history, and in the last year, a lot of stories were made up about masks, so I wanted to take this moment to set the record straight. The whole world was having to mask up, not just Americans. And new icons were created so people understood that masks were being worn to stop the spread of germs. Did people get into a twist about it? Damn straight they did. But why? We have been looking at these signs for over 50 years. No shirt, no shoes, no service, and nobody ever said, it's a government plot to take away our liberties. But when we did this and added no shirt, no shoes, no masks, the proverbial shit hit the fan. And to be clear, the shit never stays on the fan, and we never talk about where it goes or where it lands once it does hit the fan. But everybody, including the virus, began wearing masks. As you can see, this virus put on a mask so as not to catch human maladies like Trumpism, stupidity, fear of others, ignorance, racism, intolerance, misogyny, and other life and intelligence-threatening conditions. There were so many people who complained that wearing a mask made them feel like this, which of course spawned this. But for people who caught COVID, it felt like this. But masks have been around and celebrated for eons and played a vital role in ceremony and spiritual practice. Some masks were intended to protect a person's privacy and identity, while others were intended to frighten, and others were really to protect you from becoming a second course on a cannibal's tasting menu. Some masked men were heroes, while others were clearly villains and the worst kind that induced nightmares. No doubt Hollywood lawyers will be looking for a way to charge people a user fee because they're replaying the scene from a horror movie they just watched in their dreams. Many masks are intended to protect people. These masks were designed to protect goalies, but it wasn't always that way. November 1st, 1959, Jacques Plante was cut badly by a nose-smashing shot to the face by Ranger forward Andy Bathgate. Plante's face was cut from his mouth all the way up to his nostril. He went back into the game after being stitched up and literally changed the face of hockey. Goalies from that day forward thought better of it and wore masks, which have evolved from this to this. Obviously, as you can see, they need to be standard issue for anybody who's living with domestic violence. Masks protect landscapers from flying debris, which might include debris that has recently hit a fan. Masks protect people who spray lacquer paints and are required gear by OSHA, and anybody who gives a rat's ass about the health of their auto paint shop workers. Masks are so important in protecting us that a jury awarded coal miners $67.5 million for defective 3M masks that contributed to black lung disease. which, by the way, would only cover 481 minors, given that the latest estimate for a lung transplant, on average, is $135,000. We have masks to protect the faces of baseball catchers. And all this time, nobody complained about masks until this guy came along and made wearing a mask an infringement on one's right to act like a germ-spreading mask hole. Maybe if someone had used some masking tape on this guy, we might not have over 500,000 people die from COVID, which in January 2021 was the leading cause of death in America. Some people, to protest masks, put on these, hoping the charcoal insole would filter out the germs, or this one that doubled to stop nosebleeds, or this one, which is what happens when your nose is running in sub-zero weather. But people did get creative, and I, for one, was delighted to see all of the variations on a theme as it relates to masks. Many of them were created by the dental industry as a way to consider having your mouth reinvented. Clever, funny, imaginative, and intended to delight, horrify, and do all of the things they spent top dollar on a makeup artist in Hollywood to pull off, or in this case, put on. Some people who continue to spout conspiracy theories about masks and COVID need to be gagged. And as you can see, there's a right and wrong way for a gag to prevent the spread. But even now, some people still resist, those who haven't been vaccinated. And though the CDC has provided guidance that states if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask in certain settings. So, will people be honest? Like the person who returns your wallet or your purse with all the money in it? Like the person who leaves the note when they ding your car on how to get in touch with them to be accountable for the accident? Like any number of acts when the only thing watching to see if you're doing the right thing is your conscience. And if anybody tries to give you the line that masks don't work and they don't prevent the spread of germs or COVID, ask them if they would like their surgeon to wear a mask the next time they operate on them, when it comes time to cut them open and pull their head out of their ass, which, by the way, is not going to be covered by the Affordable Care Act, Kaiser, Blue Cross, or any other insurance agency. You will have to pay for it. So do us all a favor and put your money where your mouth is, and then we can all thank you for stuffing your pie hole shut. Thanks for tuning in. Look, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.